and welcome. Today we're making a super simple menu of a green salad with a few shishito peppers chopped up on top and an omelet that we will cook with just a few shishito peppers, put a lid on it, and sort of do like a hybrid steam cooking omelet. Super simple. Let's see if I don't break it while it flips. But before we start the cooking, we're going to clean the lettuce. So we have some beautiful lettuce here, and I have a bowl of about 6 cups of water. I'm going to add, so sometimes, if you have a salad spinner or you just want to fill up your sink with water and take the leaves off and just give it a good rinse, that's great. If you have products that clean vegetables and fruits, you can add that. But I find that baking soda is a very simple and effective way of cleaning fruits and vegetables, removing the pesticides, and it's super cost efficient, and it doesn't leave your food tasting like soap, which can happen if you wash something off. Obviously, you can't wash off a piece of lettuce individually either, so this is a plus. So what I'm going to do is I have about 6 cups of water, and I'll take about 4 tablespoons of baking soda. I probably don't even need that many. I'll just do like 3. And I'll stir it up just to mix it. And the water becomes cloudy, but you don't need to do anything else to it. The water should be cold. If you want, you can add some ice cubes to the water, because the colder the water is, the more the leaves will stay crisp and fresh. You just don't want to add warm water and then add your lettuce, because anything warm obviously will wilt the yummy texture and freshness of the lettuce. So I'm just going to take off the leaves, and I'll just do that one by one. And this will just give it a nice rinse. As you can see, you can't see, but I can. There's a lot of dirt at the base of this as lettuce grows. It is kind of a dirty vegetable, and the dirt, it's not like a Brussels sprout where the interior is kind of protected. It does get a lot of dirt inside each leaf. So I'll set that aside, and I'm just gonna shake it off a little bit, and I'll leave it in here for just a few minutes while it cleans itself. You really could almost take it out immediately. And behind the bowl, I'll just move this. I have just a paper towel, or not a paper towel, I have a dish towel that will dry the lettuce leaves off in, because I don't have a salad spinner. If you guys at home have one, super easy to just wring it and all the water comes out, and it's really fun. But I don't have one, so I'm just using some towels. And while that's cleaning itself, we're going to make the dressing really quickly, because I think that when you make salad, it's a really good idea to start with the dressing before you do anything else, because it's something that's very easily forgotten while you're making things, and it's very easy to make, and you can leave it on the counter. So why not get it out of the way, and then you can get into all of the other stuff, and you're not like, oh my gosh, where's the dressing at the end of, when you're ready to eat. So with a mason jar, I really like making salad dressing. There's some herbs in there with mason jars, because you just put the lid back on and you shake it, and it's a really easy way of emulsifying salad dressing, and then you also have a container to put it in the fridge with. So that said, we'll just put a little bit of olive oil. I never measure my salad dressing. This is probably a personal problem, and for you that do like to measure, go ahead and measure. I'm assuming it's maybe 4 tablespoons of olive oil to 1 or 2 teaspoons of vinegar. Try that and see. But since I kind of do it on the fly, I'm just gonna add it in. I think for me, when the vinegar almost completely coats the bottom of the dish, it's kind of good. And then the vinegar, the olive oil, and then I'm adding a little bit of soy sauce, so I won't be adding salt. Just a tiny bit of soy sauce to add a little bit of flavor, and a little bit of pepper. Super simple. There is something that's called Bragg's liquid aminos that's really high in amino acids. It tastes like soy sauce, but it can be a little cost prohibitive, so soy sauce works just great. And it's also a really, really great way to save those soy sauce packets if you eat Chinese and you get a lot in your delivery and you never know what to do with it. Well, save it for your dressing. So I'm just shaking it up. And then I'll flip over the lid. Actually, that's really good. So that's done. I'm gonna set this aside. and we will rinse out the lettuce. So obviously super wet. We'll take these out. And I'll just pat it dry. So you just want to make sure that you don't break the leaves if you are doing it this way. So we want to keep them nice and crisp. And okay, so we'll set this aside and I'll dry this a little bit more off camera, but you basically just want to pat it and you kind of move it around and make sure that all of the water is out. You can leave the water in, it's just the more water that's in your lettuce, the more watered down your dressing will be and the less flavorful it will be. It's not gonna kill you and you know, it's no big deal. So I do like to have it really dry so it absorbs the liquid of the dressing, but we'll just do that for now. And we'll set that aside. I'm gonna put this bowl underneath. And let's get into the eggs. Before we go over to the stove, I've cracked 4 eggs in this little dish. And usually if I'm making scrambled eggs, I'll use a little bit of water because water in eggs makes it kind of fluffy. But because we're making an omelet, I am going to add like 2 tablespoons of milk. When you add milk or cream to eggs, it makes it a lot denser and creamier. So there is a difference between. Either way, your eggs will change in texture depending on what you want them for. Usually when I make scrambled eggs, I usually add cheese, so I like the consistency that the water gives it. Makes it like a little fluffy with the cheese. Today it's milk. I'll just add that all. And then I'm just gonna, you know, break it up. And then we will go over to the stove and we'll stir fry, we'll like heat up the shishito peppers and then we'll add this to the pan and it'll be done in like 5 minutes. Super simple recipe. See you in a minute. Okay, so we're at the stove. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to the pan. I've already heated it up to a medium-high temperature. I'm just gonna coat the pan a little bit and I'll add the shishito peppers in right away. No need to wait. And I'm just going to cook them a little bit just so they're not crunchy in the omelet because eggs don't take that long to cook and this is a little crunchier. This is something that takes a little bit longer. So I'm just gonna add this up and add a little salt. So usually I like to salt things as I go, like the peppers I like to salt while I'm cooking it. I don't add eggs or I don't add salt to eggs immediately because salt actually puts like little tiny holes in eggs and makes a really, it can make a kind of a weird texture. You can if you want, but I usually wait until afterwards. It's sort of like, I don't know the technical term for this, but it can like burn your eggs and make it a little like fuzzy. This is so untechnical right now. This is like not making any sense. All to say that I am going to add the salt after. I'm just gonna cook it up for a few more minutes. Oops, I lost one, man down. Okay, and then I think I will add on the low, like turning down the flame, I think I'll add a little bit of oil, just a tiny bit more, and make sure that the sides of the pan are really coated because I'm going to cover this when I add the eggs and I'm going to cook it in sort of like a hybrid steaming fashion. So I'm going to add the eggs. And then I will try not to touch it. Okay, so that said, I think I'm going to cover it now. And it's probably going to take a minute or 2. It'll cook really quickly, and then we'll see if I can flip it and not make a mess because the pan is pretty small. We'll see what happens. The steam will help cook the other side of the eggs at the same time it's cooking from the bottom. So it's helpful when you make an omelet this way. This, however, is not a folded omelet. This is a round omelet that can serve like 2 to 3, maybe 4 people. and you can cut it in slices or you can cut it in half afterwards. So it's not like a typical omelet that you'd have like at a buffet where the guy folds it over and like puts all your stuff inside. This is sort of like a Spanish from Spain version where like you cook it flat, and in Spain they actually use potatoes and chorizo and a lot of things, and they cook a very thick kind of like potato egg pancake. It's really good, and you can like slice it in like really hard slices. This is sort of like a hybrid of an omelet and that. I'll just make sure that it's cooking on the sides. It's looking good. Let's put that back in. We'll come back, we'll check back in a few minutes and see where it is. Okay, so we've been away for like a minute. It hasn't been very long. And as you see, it's cooking, and I'm just going to make sure that the process is sped up a little bit by pushing the sides like into the middle and just getting a little bit of the uncooked egg in there so it's easier to flip over, because at this point it's been about 3 minutes and your eggs are probably getting brown on the other side. I haven't checked, but that's probably what's happening. So it's still non-stick. We added a lot of oil to the pan. And I think we'll flip it in a second. We'll just put back on the lid for 1 second, and then we'll see if I can flip it without having it be a big disaster. So just be back in 1 minute. All right, so let's flip it over. So yes, if you wanted to get fancy, you could like shake it like this and then take your chances at pushing that way and like flipping it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to do it with a spatula because that's a perfectly viable option. We'll just see if it breaks, but we'll just get the spatula under there and flip it over. If the side sticks like this did, just try to unturn it with your spatula. As you see, it's like a golden brown. This is the limit, I think, of how far this should be cooked. So this is basically done. I'm just going to cook it for like a few more seconds on this side and just make sure that all of the eggs on that side have been cooked. But to be fair, I did put a lot of that egg underneath and it cooked over, so there wasn't that much more to do. So this is basically done. I can salt it now. And I'll add a little bit of pepper. I can do that after too, but okay, let's take it over and plate it. Okay, let's do it. Let's plate it up. Super simple. Let's get the spatula in here. I'm going to cut this in half because we really don't need all these eggs. You could really cut it in quarters, or you could eat the whole thing if you're really hungry, but I'm not, so I'm just gonna plate it half of that, and I'll set this aside over here. And then we'll get ready for the salad. So I have the lettuce. I'll just add this. There's the heart. It's like the best part of the lettuce for me, so I'm gonna not forget to use that. And then I'm just going to shake up the dressing again. I'll add the shishito peppers. I'll add some of them. I'll save a few just for the top. And I'll just dump it in. It's probably a little more than we need, so I did about 3/4 of the jar. So all in all, I put about 4 tablespoons of oil, 2 teaspoons of vinegar, a half of a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, or no, 2 teaspoons of balsamic vinegar, a half of a teaspoon of soy sauce, and that was it, and some pepper. And then we'll just plate that. Gonna add these. Set those aside. And this is in the way. This is like a peacock. And you have super simple omelet, green salad. Took about, without all of my gibberish and jabbering, it took about 5 minutes to make and 5 minutes to prepare. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon.